Turning now to iTeammate and a potential fatal flaw in the state's 911 system.
Did an inability to talk across county lines cost a 30-year-old Indianapolis man his life? Tonight, iTeammate's Richard Essex is digging for answers and solutions.
The common perception is that when you call 911 is that the closest available first responders will come to your location. Well, that's not always the case. There are boundaries like state lines and county lines that will determine who comes to your aid.
So that firehouse that was available, that was closest to my son, would have never been called.
On Saturday, November 16, 2019, Matt West was getting ready for a birthday party. He had stayed the night at a friend's house to help plan the party. The house is in a neighborhood just north of the Hamilton-Marion County line. At 12:30, just after lunch, Matt told his friends he wasn't feeling well. He was sweating profusely. Then he passed out. He was on the floor and not responding. At 12:37, his friends called 911. Then George West got a call he will never forget.
And we got a call from his friends that Matt was unresponsive and they had called 911. So Beth and I jumped in our car and raced to where my son was, frightened, unimaginably frightened, to where he was. And on the way there, we passed the fire station at 86th and Fall Creek.
They passed Indianapolis Fire Department Station 28.
But I can distinctly remember passing that fire station and thanking God that it was so close.
Those Indianapolis firefighters never got the call.
Was that a house, apartment, or business?
The 911 call went to the Hamilton County Dispatch Center. Hamilton County sent the closest, and this is important, the closest available Hamilton County first responders. Fisher's Fire Station 94 is 2 1/3 miles away. They were on a run and not available. Fisher's Fire Station 92, they were available, but they are 3.2 miles away from Matt. 12 minutes after 911 was called, first responders arrived.
I just couldn't understand why that one that was farthest away responded when there was one so close. And that one that was closest was available at that time, but never called. All of us just could not understand why, that because, Matt was in VFib, so every minute, every second counts. Life decreases by 10% basically for someone that's in VFib, for every minute they're in VFib.
Matt's family says the first responders made every effort to save him. According to records provided by the family to iTeammate, Fisher's firefighters attempted to revive him with a defibrillator, which failed. At 1:25 p.m., 48 minutes after 911 was called, Matt West was pronounced dead. His family says Matt died from an undiagnosed heart condition. Lab results show that he had caffeine, cotinine, a byproduct of nicotine, along with an acceptable level of prescription amphetamines or Adderall in his system. Had firefighters gotten to him sooner, would he still be alive? That is a question that haunts his family every day. His father, George West, has driven the routes from each fire station to the home where his son died 100 times in the past couple of years, questioning why the closest fire station wasn't called. The answer, bureaucratic lingo that does nothing to ease his pain.
It's just hard to believe that, and I think most people think, when you pick up the phone and call 911, the closest available EMS, police, or fire is going to respond, but that's not always the case, especially if there's a jurisdictional boundary involved.
In this case, the Hamilton County 911 Center can't see across county lines and vice versa because there are boundaries.
It happens pretty much every day in every 911 center.
Kevin Wethington is the director of the Marion County Public Safety Communications. He tells me this is a common problem that people in his line of work have been grappling with for decades. Technology has made the problem worse in some cases. There are dozens of companies that make and design dispatch systems. They are not always keen on sharing proprietary technology.
CAD companies they're commercial companies, right, and they're competitors. So there are some challenges.
Then there is cost. Wethington says Marion County is one of the largest communication centers in the country, which requires millions of dollars to maintain and operate. Smaller counties don't need and in some cases can't afford the same system.
Where this becomes very, very complicated is when we start drawing in resources from other municipalities. Because every time you move someone from one geographic area to another, that creates a void that then dominoes behind that.
Go ahead, sir.
Marion and Hendricks County have an agreement that allows both dispatch systems to see across the county line. If there's an incident near the county line, both counties can send the closest available resources. This type of arrangement is not common, and it is the arrangement that George West believes would have helped his son. He doesn't want his son's death to have been in vain, and has asked lawmakers to help solve the problem.
Senator Boots.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You referenced the trauma committee. Why hasn't something been done?
During the 2022 General Assembly, George West convinced lawmakers to take a hard look at why communication centers can't talk across county lines. Fisher's Fire Chief Steve Arusa says incidents like the one the West family encountered happen far too often.
When based on geographical information, a CAD can determine the closest unit and recommend it for the best response. But the problem lies is when the location needing a response is close to a county line. A geographically closer agency in another county could very well be closest to respond but unaware of the situation. This is usually because the two counties are using two different CAD systems, which do not communicate.
The legislation passed both chambers and was signed by the governor, and it creates a committee to make recommendations on how to deal with this problem. The committee meets once a week, and their recommendations are due on lawmakers' desks by November 1st, just a few weeks shy of the third anniversary of Matt's death.
I mean, if Matt could have got defibrillated sooner, and it could have possibly saved his life for sure. But we'll never know the answer to that question because that firehouse was never called.
The solutions to this problem are not going to be easy. The committee is scheduled to have their recommendations on lawmakers' desks on November 1st. In Hamilton County, Richard Essex, Wish TV, ITV8.